Good morning, you little fuckers, and welcome to the Force Podcast.
Good morning. Good morning.
Grand
Good
Rising.
morning.
Grand
How's everybody doing?
Buenos días, ¿cómo estamos?
Buenos días.
Nick, Mike,
Bonjour,
Bato, how we
Nick.
doing?
Doing fine.
Okay, bye, Bato. Okay, bye, Bato. See you later.
I had to isolate my mic to make sure you guys don't hear everybody talking in the background.
Oh, that's it. I don't even know if I checked mine if I did that or not.
Oh, I did that. I did that earlier. Good. Ready to go. How y'all doing? How's everything? Okay, bye, Nick.
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. How's everybody else doing?
Welcome
Wow.
back,
Wow.
Nick.
Mike, are you putting dynamite together, Mike? What are you doing down there? Are you crocheting?
No, I want to get I like the fiddle things. So sorry. Does that bother you? I'll put it down. Sorry.
Makes sense.
Do you need a fidget spinner?
No, my kids have those. I'm good. Something's annoying.
Nice.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Should we
Why
get
my
you a fidget
kids-
spinner?
Why
As
my
long as
kids
it has some
crying
faith
outside
on
my
it.
door right now?
Hey, you give
What's
me a
your
fidget
fidget?
spinner.
When are your kids what?
They're like crying right outside my door, dude.
Dad, come back.
They're probably fighting over something. Oh well, I need to get up to get up in all the reasons, and I'll be back to our scheduled program.
Back to our scheduled program.
Hey, crying
Mhm.
bills.
So what's
Speaking
up?
of, mhm.
Yes.
Speaking of which, we don't have a scheduled program today. I'm kind of flying off the cuff here. So, sometimes that's okay because you lose track of things and you let things. People get busy. People have lives. We all have lives. Well, we're all busy doing what we do, and you know what? That's perfectly okay because that's what life's about. Y'all, it's not always be serious. Always business. There's always got to be some kind of rest and relaxation period to clear your mind a little bit and get you refocused and recentered.
And this doesn't mean we don't have topic. We just all been busy. Literally, we all been busy. It's just
Yeah, I
an
made a
FYI.
whole move from another state, so I'm just
Yeah.
settling down. So
How is that going?
it's getting there. Texas is a little different from California. Gas is cheaper.
Okay. Out of all the things, you want to throw that in there? Okay, go ahead.
The only thing I do miss is In and Out. I'll be honest with you. I miss In and Out. I miss my nephew, obviously. Besides that, it's actually going pretty well. The environment over here is pretty, it's not as stressful as I'm accustomed to in the past. But other than that, everything's going pretty well. Can't complain.
Any icks or any things that you found that you don't like from the movie?
Surprisingly, and I think I had this conversation with both Vato and you, Mosca. It was like, based off you guys know my previous situations, it's night and day.
Right.
Like, I was so accustomed to stressing out about, the cleanliness, the upkeep, things that are unnecessary stress on top of a really fragile relationship. You know what I'm saying? So, but I haven't had that. I haven't had that type of stress when it comes to relationship wise.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good thing. So it's actually going pretty well. Now icks and stuff like that. God, why you start using that word? You must be watching all those videos on TikTok. What's the ick of the day?
That's what I've always told her, because I know that when somebody moves in with another person, it takes a couple of days for you to start noticing little icks here and there.
I think we all have them though. Everybody has their own icks.
But nobody notices them until you move with that person.
Yeah.
True.
That's what I'm saying. Have
Definitely.
you found any ick?
No, nothing that I wouldn't like. Adriana is like, we're so aligned when it comes to a lot of things, aspects. Whether it deals with the cleaning of the house, the cooking, the cleaning. How she talks to her kids or disciplines her kids. There's me, I'd be typically men are more strict when it comes to kids, and because I'm new in the picture, I try to kind of stay out of it to a certain extent, unless they start being disrespectful. And so far, they haven't been disrespectful towards me, which is refreshing because in previous relationships, them kids were not respectful at all. So, but when it comes to like the small attitudes they have towards their mother, I try to kind of stay out of it because, again, I'm new to the picture. I don't want to be that type of person that just comes out of nowhere and says, "Hey," and put, knife hand them or, you know, insert my dominance over them. But I think time will
Right,
tell.
right.
There's a perfect time for it, and I think
Right.
it's just too soon. And but overall consensus, the kids are actually not too bad, and so they're actually pretty good.
Thought you were going to say
Yeah,
something.
it's always the hard part, man. Getting into like into a relationship or something like that. And if there's other children involved, you gotta, like, obviously, like, when you accept the mother, you accept the children.
Yeah.
You know, just because you accept the mother and you accept the children doesn't always mean the children accept you. You know, but I've had situations like that before where the kids weren't really fond of me, at first, and then, over time, you build that relationship with them, you build that trust with them, and it makes sense that he's not here to, he's not here to learn anything, he's here just to add some positivity to our lives,
Yeah,
And that's always like that's always like the scary part, consider blues first at
Sure
first.
are.
I mean, you can even say from your own or fuck shit, but you know what I mean? This thing just like, I know my kid doing some crazy shit, man. I'm like, you too? Like, I used to do some crazy shit too, it's kind of straight shit. Man, luckily none of my kids have done that yet, so I think I'm doing okay. I think I'm doing okay so far. Well, they're doing okay, rather. It's not like my
Yeah.
parents keep me in jail. I got myself killed there.
About 28 that you found with Annie when you first
Yeah,
moved
I
in
was
together.
actually gonna say, I was actually gonna ask Mike, when you hang out with somebody the way that he did for a while, go over there for a week or a weekend, and I think that's how we all are when we're trying to figure out, is this person the person that I want to move in with and be
Well,
with for the rest of my life, right? And once we actually move in, we start to see the real habits that the other person carries that you don't get to see every day, aka the icks that most guys talking about. Right.
yeah.
So I was just curious, how do you handle those when you do come across those? How do you handle them as a man, being
uh,
where you are now and being as expressive as you are?
so in the past, in my past relationship, I'm the type of guy like organization is one of my key things, right? It's OCD, not OCD, but it's kind of in the same category. It's like I like everything clean in a certain order, everything has a place. I felt myself
That's
doing,
OCD, bro.
yeah, I felt myself doing a lot of things to if I wasn't comfortable in an environment, I would alternate or change it so I could be comfortable with. And I found myself doing that in my past relationships where if the place wasn't up to par or it was just dirty or I found myself cleaning it instead of, enjoying my weekend, I would sit there and spend a day or so cleaning my environment, getting in order. So eventually I would feel comfortable in that environment. And I dealt with that new terminal, a lot of icks. And I've seen a lot of problems where I choose to ignore it because I wanted the relationship to work out. Since I moved here in Texas, I kind of took a step back on how direct I am when it comes to voicing my opinions because I knew the more I voice my opinions to a certain extent, it becomes what do you call it, nagging or complaining, right? So I've kind of channeled that, and again, I took a step back and said, okay, what's worth, what's going to be progressive? What's going to progress the relationship? What's going to progress the environment that I'm in? And, I start tackling the closest alligator to the boat. What's going to be more issue? What's going to move both of us forward? If I bring up something, what's going to push us back? So in the past, I was always very direct, open, black and white. If I seen a problem, I voiced my opinion, which caused a lot of problems because not many people like that. So with Adriana, I pulled back a lot. But she has already set the environment where it made it easier for me not to complain about a lot of stuff. And um, so I pick and choose my battles. So she doesn't feel like I'm that type of guy that knows everything and points everything out. I usually just take care of myself. And what it does is it provides me peace, provides her peace to a certain extent. And I'm not coming off as overbearing. So a lot of icks that I have in the past, I still have. I just keep to myself and I take care of myself because it's easier to do things for myself than becoming that negative cloud in the household. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, I definitely feel like you need to be able to find a way to communicate the things that you dislike and be open to accepting the things that the other person doesn't like. Because it does become nagging if you just want to be anal about everything and you want to be in control and in charge of everything. Then yeah, you do become that. And I think the biggest thing we can do sometimes is take that deep breath, step back, and then come back and express, hey, I don't, this is how this makes me feel. I really don't like how this is. We don't have to change it. I'm just expressing. I don't think it's nagging at that point, bro. I think you got to be able to have that healthy confrontation and express it.
I agree. And I tell you what, the only reason why it's so easy now is because you have to have both people that have that same type of mindset. If you have one person that has that mindset where it's like, okay, look you're going to have pushback. There's not going to be change. There's not going to be understanding. There's not going to be transparency. There's not going to be that proper communication. I totally agree with you on that. The one thing that I love about Adriana, she's completely, I was going through something yesterday. And so you guys know I had a friend that committed suicide back in November, a good Marine buddy of mine. Yeah. I don't know. I was doing good, and then of course Adriana was watching the video, and it showed like a couple committed suicide. They were like hanging themselves, And I thought it was fake. I was like, "Why are you watching this stuff?" And she was like, "Oh, it's two couple." I was like, "It's not fake." She was like, "No, it's real." And at that moment, all I could think about was like watching that video and seeing how they were struggling. No, it changed my whole perspective for life. Like my whole vibe was off. And that next morning, that whole day, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was Friday. Though I was emotional because all I could think about was like, was my friend going through that same? Did he do that same movement? Was he struggling? And she came home and the first thing she was doing was she was on her phone and I think at that moment, like I just got done cleaning the house, organizing everything, and all I needed was 5 minutes of communication. Like I just need 5 minutes of talking to somebody. And she asked me like what was going on. And I think I was getting kind of irritated and pissed at that moment because I just felt like I was by myself all day. I'm going through something emotional, something that she kind of triggered, even though she didn't know she triggered it. And so she sat down with me and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I kind of expressed it. And then, at first I didn't want to tell her, but then she was like, "Hey, and then the same thing I always tell you, we're a team." She keeps saying, "We're a team. We got to work together." And she sat down. And I told her what bothered me. I was like, "Look, I understand you work. I understand you got a lot of things on your plate. All I need is 5 minutes of your time. That's it. I don't care if you're busy for the rest of the day. I just need 5 minutes of your time when you get home because I have nobody else to talk to, you know?" And so, and most times when I did in my past, I complained about that or I brought that up. That person wasn't willing to work with me. That person wasn't willing to listen to me or understand what I was going through. Vice versa, yesterday, it was more of she apologized. She says, "I'm going to do better." She wanted to compromise. And I'm telling you, that's the difference between being at peace and understanding that the environment that I in or create or adjust, or whether it deals with the relationship or just the upbringing of the house. It's a night and day. It's very much night and day. And I am blessed to have somebody like that in my life now, because we could both do that for each other.
Did did she come from work, and that's when that happened? That conversation? Was she coming home from work?
No, she got off work and then she went to go take care of something, and then she came. But the video, that what triggered kind of like my snowball
No, I
effect
mean,
emotion.
like, how you said she came home and she got on her phone. Was that her coming home from work?
Yeah, she.
So not to sound like, because that's something that kind of not irritated me, but it happened to me. Every time I would get home from work when I used to work outside from home, I would always request maybe 5-10 minutes to myself. I don't care, and I used to tell her, I don't care if you've been home all day. I need 5-10 minutes to myself to unwind from the outside world, and then I'll be all yours.
No,
And
I
that's where I
agree
was
with that.
thinking, like maybe that's what she did. Maybe she got on her phone just to unwind a little bit, and it kind of irritated you because I understand that you needed that, but sometimes you gotta understand that we need to unwind from the outside world because we're out there.
No, I agree with you and I understand what you're saying. The fact that with her is I try to give her space with those certain things, but when you're in a relationship and it starts becoming a trend where you feel like like I told her yesterday, I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm another appliance in the house, right? When you only want to be around me, or you only want to use me when it benefits you. And I completely understand what you're saying, Mosca, because I believe that people need their decompression time. The fact that she sat next to me and then she sat next to me and made it seem like she was gonna relax, but then she got on her phone, and then she went upstairs and she went to go still, because she types of person, she'll do overtime work without getting paid. She'll constantly work and work and works, you know. And like I said, I don't hold that against her because I know she's a hardworking mother. But it just at that moment, she kind of knew what I was going through that night, because she kind of apologized. She was like, "Well, I didn't mean to show you that because I didn't think you were going to affect about that." But then I tried to remind her, I was like, "Yo, I just lost a friend like 5 months ago, and it's still fresh, you know." So it just felt like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, I understand what you're saying, and it's giving me like a different retrospect of like, okay, yeah, you're right. I should have freaking give her space to decompress, but I think I was just going through something at that moment. Most times, I'm usually I leave her alone for until she approaches me.
But she
It's just
also
that,
caught it, right?
Yeah,
She also
caught
felt
it.
it.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
she
she
felt it. She knew that you weren't doing too well, and she said, "Let's talk about it."
Yeah.
Like, where do you find that? You don't find that very often.
yeah.
Like
But
all these.
I
Oh,
think
go
the
ahead,
thing
bro.
was for me, the thing was like, let her decompress. I know you're going through that. I know she triggered something that bothers you. And like I said, we come from the outside world back home where it's nice and calm. We have all this shit going in our head from work, whatever's going on, even if she was doing errands. Let her decompress a little bit. Obviously, she caught it. She caught it on the spot because she already knows who you are. But if it would have been somebody else, that's when that would have triggered me. Like, yo, like, no, what the fuck?
I want to know. This is a question for our audience. This question for our audience, women specifically. Women catch everything. Nothing gets by women. Nothing gets by women. Nothing. So why is it that sometimes when they know that we're going through something, they want to avoid the conversation? Like, see, man, we don't want to avoid the conversation. We just don't want to sound like whiny, naggy, unmasculine men, right? So it's normal for us to say, when you ask us what are we going through, it's normal for us to not share. And that's what we're trying to bring to the table with this podcast is men want to also speak about things. Men want to also share things. We also want to share feelings without being degraded as men that we need to express. Because if we bottle that up, eventually we pick up a habit that hurts the marriage, hurts the relationship. So women, that question, I don't know if I asked the question, bros. Do you feel I asked the question right?
Yeah, okay, I think that.
Or are you
I'm trying to think
avoiding
about it.
us? Why are you avoiding us?
Why?
We need to have these talks too.
I think I think some women are just sometimes they're clueless because I think primarily because there are a lot of men who don't like to show the more sensitive side. But everybody has one, regardless if you come off as a hard ass or you know what I mean. It's so the way you present yourself. Obviously, everybody has and will be vulnerable to the person who lets them. So there's chances are, maybe maybe the maybe women out there have never had a man who was willing to let that guard down to show the vulnerability. It's like, oh, fuck, I'm fine. You know what I mean?
Well, do you guys think
Let me
this,
let me go
bros?
outside and sit in my garage. Fucking whatever. But like I'm saying, like it's important to be able to have that person that you can talk to, whether or not, obviously for like my situation, she maybe she got home and she was, you know what I mean, just kind of chilling out because she'd been at work all day running errands, but she just wanted to check her, was like checking shit on her phone. Who knows? Who knows what the case was? Because you know, and if she did trigger it, like the when she did show him something, maybe she could trigger something. Maybe she didn't realize it. Maybe she didn't recognize it at first because she wasn't in your situation. She's not in your situation. She's not you. But then again, once she noticed that there was something bothering you, she made herself available.
Yeah, I commend her
Regardless,
for
like
that.
Yeah,
Regardless
that's awesome.
if she was on her phone for 5 minutes or whatever. Like, and in the same sense though, like when she was on her phone, you could have also been like, hey, you know what? I need a couple minutes with you. You should also be able to say that as her partner. Be like, you know what? I know you just got home. I'm feeling some type of way right now. I just need a couple minutes. If that's okay. And you know what I mean? Obviously she's a good girl and she's understanding, so she would have absolutely given you that time. Just as she did. I think sometimes we as men have to also kind of let that guard down and be like, hey, I'm going through something today. I got some feelings. I'm angry. Whatever the case is, like you're my person and I want to talk to you about it right now. Just
There's
for a
not a lot
minute.
of women out there. There's not a lot of women out there that catch shit like that.
No, and that's what
Because
I say. Sometimes you gotta put it out there and be like, hey, I need a couple minutes of your time.
With what you just said, do you feel that stems from a different relationship? Like they had that relationship with somebody and now they're bringing that relationship into this relationship by not knowing that it's there, but not wanting to talk about it because of their past relationship, how they were treated in that past relationship?
I wouldn't say that. I would say maybe they didn't have a maybe they went with a person who was open with their feelings. You need to be open. You have to be open with your person in the positives and the negatives, okay? In the way that you're feeling that person. That person has to be able to accept you in your best and your worst. Not saying your worst is all the time, but in in a moment of weakness, that person has to be there to kind of uplift you a little bit. Even if they can't like uplift you fully, it's just to listen because listening does a lot.
yeah,
I have a question for Mike here in a moment after you guys all talk. I know
Go
Mike's
go
going to
ahead.
say
go for
something.
it. Go for it. Ask it.
Well, Mike
Go
was going to
for
say
it.
something. So after Mike says it, I have a question for him.
Yeah.
I think I think people, I don't want to speak on like generalization, but I'm talking about from my experience. Women do notice certain things. I think they just choose to ignore it because it doesn't benefit them. And I know that's going to be controversial, me saying that, but I'm just talking based off my experience. I'm not saying all women are the same, but I'm just saying that based on my experience, the women in my past, they sense something's wrong. They just choose to ignore it because they don't value that or they think that's important. Because in society it teaches what that men have to deal with certain things. We were held to a certain standard when it comes to how we express our emotions in a relationship, next to nothing. We always have to cower to a woman's feelings, but a woman can't, cower to a man's feelings when they're in a relationship. I think that we're just used to that. Like I told you guys, this is night and day. Like, and I'm just saying from my experience, my last relationship to this one, it's night and day. I think we've been on a podcast where I told you that I've been told that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Or I got compared. Well, I have friends or I have clients that said their husband has PTSD and they said they don't deal with this, so why can't you deal with it? I've been told that. I've been told that, and it just, I don't know. I think it's bullshit that people could say, well, I never noticed that my partner was going through something, whether it's you're a man or a woman. I think we all know this shit. We
Those
know
people are
what
they're disconnected, bro. They're disconnected from each other.
it's not that
Because
disconnected. They don't want to deal with it.
when you're really connected with somebody, bro, you feel what they're going through.
Before we get too far off that, you said something that kind of brought something up in my mind. You said that they said that they have somebody, their partners, that can deal with PTSD like that. Now, let me ask you a question, because I'm really curious. Do you think some people out there say they suffer from PTSD but don't really?
I'll be honest with you, I think everybody suffers from or people who say they suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic syndrome, stress syndrome. I think everybody deals with or considers PTSD to a certain capability in their own experience, right? I've seen people that, I'll talk about military. I've seen people that freaking go to boot camp, don't make it out of boot camp, and get diagnosed with PTSD just from boot camp. 3 months in the military. Versus someone goes to combat, deals with certain stressors of that, or someone who deals with combat that doesn't go in a direct firefight but loses friends or whatever situation and comes back. I've seen people claim PTSD because they got woken up 4 o'clock in the morning by alarm, because that's
You see what I mean? That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like the PTSD that I would think that would really fuck with somebody if I was being on the front line and losing somebody. Okay, losing your friends, losing your fucking somebody you went through the whole fucking shindig with from the very fucking beginning. That person, that right there, or it happening right next to you. That is a fact. Okay, but that's what I was saying. Like being woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning from the fucking alarm. I mean, I've been waking up by an alarm at 5:30 a.m. for the past 20 fucking years. Does that mean no? There's a fucking difference, man. There's a difference, and I hate the fact that people try to claim that shit when they don't deserve that. That's not a fucking traumatic experience. Waking up from a bar is not a traumatic experience.
Yeah, but you gotta understand that everybody's the
That
same.
that is not a trauma.
I think some people. Go ahead, Callie.
I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
It's just what's a trauma to somebody might not be a trauma to somebody else. But I know what you're saying, Nick. I feel that this is what I tell Annie all the time. I don't want to raise my kids to be. I mean, now you hear about these kids getting traumas from not winning a trophy, so they started giving participation trophies.
You see what I mean? This is what I'm talking about. It's like people that suffer from like real fucking trauma, real shit. losing a fucking sporting event is not a fucking traumatic experience. Like I don't know where the fuck this soft fucking era came in at. But when my kids fucking fall and scrape their fucking knees or bust their fucking chin, I'm like, okay, you're all right. You're all right. You can cry because it fucking hurt you, obviously. Scares you probably even. But you're not gonna. He's crying right now, actually. But you're not gonna sit here. We're not gonna milk this motherfucker out. You understand what I mean?
Sometimes we create that trauma to our kids, man, when we overdo it when something minor happens.
Oh, definitely.
Dude, I've been through a lot of fucking shit, dude. Like I fucking died in an ambulance one time. Okay, that was my bad life. But I don't take anything for granted, and I don't try to, live off that one fucking moment when I was a dumbass.
So
Like
I
it
still have
just
that question for Mike.
it triggered that for me because somebody told him, well, my coworkers partner has this shit and doesn't deal with that shit. But how you don't even know the fucking extremity or the levels that person's
Yeah.
PTSD stems from. You know what I mean?
So Nick, that goes back to the difference from someone recognizing a problem and ignoring it to recognizing a problem and doing something about it when it comes to a relationship. The reason why I use that relationship compared to this one is to prove my point. What I said earlier, people choose to ignore. They see a problem, but they choose to ignore it, or they deflect and say, "Hey, I know you're going through something, but if my client's husband could go through it, that means you could do it. So what's the big deal?" That's the difference between a partner who cares and a partner who really doesn't fucking give a shit. You know?
Yeah.
That's why I am happy who I'm with, because if something bothers me, she'll sit there and get it out of me. Like, no, tell me what's going on. When I leave it until you tell me, and I'm like, oh, this is new, because usually I just get deflected, or I get told that what I'm going through doesn't amount to shit, or there's no value behind it. So yeah, that's I'm just saying that because I went through that and I dealt with that question that Vato asked. They know that the partner's going through something. It's just a good portion of them choose to ignore it because it doesn't benefit them, or it's because they're not getting something out of it.
Or because sometimes they're a part of the problem and they don't want to be named as a part of the problem.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say, but I was waiting for you to say that, Vato.
So, in this question right here, it can be for everybody in here, but Mike, like after you were able to finally express how she triggered you, and now she knows that it's a trigger of yours, so she'll be more careful, but and that's what we hope, right? But how did you feel after, man? Like after that you guys talked, did you feel relieved? Did you feel like you let it out? Did you feel like with what happened to you 5 months ago with your friend, did you feel more at ease about it?
I tell you what, my anxiety, stress, and everything ceased after that conversation. It really, I don't know if it's because we were looking eye to eye and we were really close to each other, and maybe I'll be honest with you, I got really emotional. And I think I was having tears in my eyes, and I think she realized the gravity of the situation. But after hearing her, reconfirming, understanding, and just her saying, I think what she told me, she was like, "Look, I'll try to do better, and I'll try to understand more." I think with just those words, all that anxiety was like, it just went out. It just went out. We hugged each other for about 5-10 minutes, and then she was telling me like words of confirmation, and then I was just like, okay, like that's it. And it's crazy because that's all I needed was that validation. And I'll be honest with you, it just felt like it was like a breath of fresh air, brother. It was. So yeah,
I'm glad, bro. Now, if only most women would learn that right there would be a increase in how long your marriage is gonna last. But also, if most women could just learn that, okay, now is the time, let's talk about how it made us feel. That way in 10 years from now, I don't have to bring it up when we're arguing. Let's talk about it right now. Mosca, I want to hear from you, bro. What do you got to say about what we're speaking on right now.
I said my piece.
Okay,
I was
so Mosca, how would you have felt if in your previous relationships or maybe in your future relationships, how how important is this going to be for you? Like, okay, so we all need space. So obviously Mike had like it happened at a certain time on a Thursday, sounds like. Friday is when he had the opportunity to talk with her. So it's not like let's not talk about it right away because we're emotional, maybe we're pissed, we're mad, we're upset. But how important is it to both Mosca and Nick to either how would have it had been in that previous relationship, or how important is it for the future relationship to have that 5 minutes to be able to say what's weighing you down?
I would say it's important because if you think about it, I'm on my computer dealing with patient bullshit for almost 12 hours. Nick is in the field dealing with other kind of bullshit with his job. So if you give us at least, I would say, give me at least 10 minutes. I usually, when I clock out, I end my live, I lay down. I turn the TV on, I watch some Harry Potter. And yes, I'm fucking next. I watch Harry Potter. I turn Harry Potter on, I watch Harry Potter, and that's how I unwind. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. I do anything that brings me back to like my own peace of mind. And I'm like, all right, now we can do what we gotta do. Most of the time I'll go outside and work on my truck or anything like that, but just give me 10 minutes to unwind. And then if you want to talk or if there's something bothering you, or if I notice something's bothering you, then that's when I'll bring it up. But I need to unwind because I've had a long day. Even though people may think I just sit in front of a computer and not do much, I think my job is way more stressful than being in the street.
Yeah.
Mental fatigue for sure.
What was that?
Well, I said mental fatigue from being on that screen all day.
Behind the scene all day.
Even there.
Yeah. First and foremost, Gryffindor was still good.
Sean. Hey, Gryffindor all the way.
Okay. All right. Look at there.
I hate snakes. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. I think for me, you know what? Like prior to the company that I work for now, it was way more high stress. I mean, you guys see now, man. I don't. I work and it's extremely busy for me, but it's not super stressful. So I don't really like. There's some days when I'm working on something that's really like really really fucked up that I just have fucked up.
Bad day. Yes, can be.
You know, and that I need to kind of like unwind a little bit. But for the most part, my job is pretty damn stress free. Like, I got all that stress out of my career in my early days. You know what I mean? When I was younger, but like, I'll get off work, like I get off work, and I'll cruise home or whatever. And, like, I'm glad to be home. I want to see my kids. I want to spend time with my kids. It's they're home or whatever. I want to spend time with them. And the only time I really like have time to like just relax is at about 10 o'clock when everybody goes to bed and I watch the news. That's my time. That's like my decompression time after my day. You know what I mean? Or when I go take a shower. That's like my time where I'm just sitting there with some fucking water and just fucking close my eyes and breathe in and just having like my time, you know? But other than that, I mean, I don't really have any other time that I really need anything. I mean, I try to live and operate as stress free as possible. I feel like I think that's the key to longevity, to living a good life. It's having as much stress as you possibly can, and peace. You know, anything that causes your temperature, your blood to rise and boil, and try to keep that away.
Well, which is why we always say she needs to be our peace because we're already fighting demons every day.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That answer your question?
Yep. Now I just want to hear from people in the comments what they have to say.
How do you guys decompress?
Yeah. Do you guys this is for everybody listening. Do you guys have a decompression routine after your day?
Ritual.
Whether you work or you're a stay-at-home mother or stay-at-home father, whatever you do,
We're retired
there's
Ram.
something. Or I mean, people still have like stresses and routines, and like regardless if if you're retired or whatever, you still have to have your own. I mean, it's kind of sounds silly to say because you're retired, and what I mean. At the same time, like Mike's situation, Mike's retired, but Mike goes to fucking school. I mean, he's doing shit. He's not just really just sitting there, just fucking,
Like,
looking the fucking around, watching the fucking birds chirp, So I mean, there is probably that time where he does need a couple minutes to himself, or a little bit of time to himself. As odd as that sounds, everybody's thinking, "Oh, you're retired." Well, regardless, man, he put in his work so he can retire. The same story goes. Even if you're retired, you still got that. Still need time to decompress. What is everybody out there's decompression time cycle, fucking stage, whatever you want to call it?
Ritual.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can have a ritual because I'm sure a lot of people go home fucking sparkling up or pop a top or something like that.
I'm sweating.
I don't know what kind of relaxing you do with that, but yeah. But I guess I mean, this would be a. I could stem over on another topic, actually, like a decompression stage or ritual that you do. What's something you need to do on the daily, or that you do on the daily? You could probably keep that up and carry that over.
Let us know for sure. Let us know. Maybe
I
we should try some
some
new things out.
Mm-hmm.
Or what advice do you guys have? I would say.
Yeah, let's do $4.
Right, gentlemen.
But we're at that mark.
We are.
We're gonna end it here. At the end of the day, I just want to fuck bitches and do coke. And with that note, we out. And that's how you end the podcast.